served in the armed forces for over 10 years. I was medically discharged from the army for an injury I sustained on my right knee. On leaving the army, I did a little bit of resettlement and then moved back to my hometown Hartlepool, where my family and my close connections were. I struggled quite a lot with what was going on mentally in my head, as well as having to deal with my physical disability. Having to get to grips with going to the job centre, medicals, and everything else that came along with it. During that time, whilst I was having operations and stuff, I toyed with the idea of becoming a foster carer. I did. I became a registered foster carer, gave a home to quite some amazing young people, teenagers. Loved every one of them, and I still talk to them all now. But I had issues around housing issues, trying to figure out how to actually bid on properties that had the nuisance of having to go to the job centre every week, and it's quite hard to speak about sometimes when you think about it. I went to the job centre and I was despicable. The lady in the job centre, after going through her spreadsheet on the computer, turned around and said to me, "You don't look disabled." I was absolutely disgusted at that, and I stood up and I pulled my trousers down and I said to her, "Do I look disabled now?" And I have to vision Forrest Gump's leg, fully encased, the lot, and I never stepped foot back in there again until the day I was going in for my apology from her, which was some 18 weeks later before I got an official apology from her. At the same time, having to bid for properties that weren't appropriate for me, feeling like shit, basically, like the whole society had just dropped me. Having come from an army background where everything was regimental, you knew what you were doing on a daily basis, to sitting there not having a clue where the hell you were going to go next and what was the next thing that was going to come around the corner that the job centre expected you to do, that the doctors or somebody else expected you to do. So it was very, very hard to try and adjust back into civilization, having had everything kind of told to you. This is what you do, bang, 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 that's you, you're done, you know what you're doing. Your house is paid for, your accommodation is paid for, your food's paid for, to then come out to go, you've got £330 a month to live on, and you're like, whoa, what's going on here? And still have to pay all your bills as well. Impossibility, trying to juggle bills with so little money that you've got. So I quickly got myself a business. I bought a little coffee shop, the ye old English tea rooms, I remember it to this day. Start building a rapport with the local people and everything. Got to know lots of people throughout the community. Even though I'd lived here all my life, I'd spent over a decade of it away. And from that day on, I've continued to grow myself as well as grow within the community that's around me. As I say, started off with the coffee shop, and I quickly learned that people actually judged me because I had a disability. I'd be walking in the shopping centre. By this time I didn't have crutches by then, I just had because I'd learned to be able to walk with my brace and everything on without being aided. I actually had people walk into me, staring at me. Could see people pointing and talking about you as you're walking past, because they made it very obvious. So they prejudged me without even knowing me. And I've not been one to let a bad thing keep me down. I dug in and kept going to the point where I was told that I should actually have my leg amputated, but I wasn't having none of that. I wanted to keep my leg. Whatever they needed to do, they had to do that for me. So some 22 operations later, massive amounts of 2 years worth of physiotherapy, intense physiotherapy every day for 6 hours. I eventually now am the woman I am now, that can do the things that I want to do and will not let anything and anyone stop me from doing it. Yeah, I do have problems still. I have to take medication for the pain, but you can fight the pain and you can keep going. With the people in the area eventually coming to terms with my disability, because it wasn't me, I'd come to terms with my disability. It was their reaction and them having to come to terms with me being disabled, which I found quite ironic, that they couldn't understand how I could be okay with my disability when they weren't okay with my disability. I can hear it battling. And from that, I decided to set up a youth club that integrated disabled people with able-bodied people, to show that just because somebody has a disability doesn't mean you have to treat them any different. They're still a human being. Yes, sometimes you do have to, but you don't have to be so ignorant and arrogant and look at people as if they are different because they have a disability. And I set up a youth club called Hartlepool Teens and Youths, which integrated the whole of the disabled children and the able-bodied children together. I actually had at the time the MP and the town mayor actually came along and did sports day. It was quite funny actually. We made them do the 3-leg race, and we tied them two together and they hated each other, so it was dead funny. And we made them do the bean sack race and everything. It was absolutely amazing to see the children actually learning themselves. We had people that were in wheelchairs, so we organised for a couple of the sessions that nobody could walk. Everybody had to be in a wheelchair. We had a deaf and dumb guy with us, so one of the volunteers, she taught the children sign language. So we did a couple of the sessions not being able to speak and only being able to use sign language to be able to express what we wanted. We had the signs up all over around the building, and nobody could speak at all. It was brilliant. It was the quietest session we've ever done in all of our life. We had a street dancing group, and our first performance was in Milton Grange Shopping Centre in front of hundreds of people. And to think that these people, as they would say, were disabled and wouldn't normally be given that opportunity to integrate with able-bodied people and do these things that we were doing. It was absolutely phenomenal. It was brilliant. And then from there, we progressed from one youth club to another youth club on the other side of town, to be asked to go and do another one somewhere else. So that spread, and it was good to see that the kids were understanding, but also the kids were sharing that with their parents instead of the parents being blindsided by what a disability is and what you can and can't do. And from there, I just grew with confidence. What did I go from? What did I do after I did that? I went into doing my diploma, health and safety, so that I could help my brother, of all people. Yeah, my brother. He'd had a bit of a crap life, down to himself. He'd been in and out of prison, and the only thing he knew how to do was scaffold. So me and my brother decided we would set up a scaffolding business, and I would do all the health and safety, and he would do the scaffolding, which quickly turned into me actually helping doing all the scaffolding as well as all the health and safety, which then in turn got me training some more. I then became a scaffolding inspector. I was the first female to pass a scaffolding inspector's course with 98% on my exam. So I was a tick in the hat for a girl on the scaffolding scene. At the same time, I was still fostering teenagers, 10 to 18-year-olds. By the time I'd finished, I'd had approximately 29 teenagers, which wasn't an easy age group, but was a phenomenal age group because it meant we could travel the world and give them an insight into my life from when I'd been in the army, travelling the world. And we had so much fun, actually. It was mega. I loved it. I then started helping out at the food banks and stuff like that, because I realised there was a lot of people out there that were struggling. Once universal credit started here in Hartlepool, one of my foster children was the first participants in the universal credit trial, and I saw him struggling on it, which then led me to find out more and more information about how universal credit worked out, what people got, ins and outs of it, a couple of back doors, and then I could help other people that were struggling or that were going on to universal credits, didn't know how to do it. And then I started working in the Burbank Community Centre, where people would come and ask for help on a daily basis. 13, 14, 15, sometimes up to 25 clients a day would come in asking for help and assistance with universal credits, how to log on, how to do all of the paperwork that needed to be done, and stuff like that. I then also at the same time help people with their PIP paperwork, because obviously I'd already gone through that process where it was disability living allowance when I was doing it. Continued working within the community, running the youth clubs, fostering teenagers. And then what did I do after that? I don't know. Lots of different things. There's lots. I can't remember all of the things that I've done. I've done that many things. I started up a music charity called Creative Minds, and we offer affordable singing lessons, guitar lessons, drum lessons, filmmaking lessons to anybody from Hartlepool, from an age group of 3 up to 78 is our eldest participant, and it's absolutely phenomenal to see the generations working together, all sharing the same love for music. because music's therapy for me. I love music. I also founded the People's Community Project, where we help people in the community that either have had something that's been traumatic that's happened to them, like the loss of a child, or a gravestone that had been damaged. We helped raise funds to be able to help sort that out. We raised funds for a mum and dad whose son was in hospital with cancer, so that they had some relief of the bills that were coming in, because another organisation was giving stuff for the child. We raised money to enable disabled people to access the beach with a specialist made chair wheelbarrow that actually had wheels that were capable of gliding around on the snow, I was going to say sand. I'm also the chairperson of the Burn Valley events team, so we host events in the Burn Valley Park for all of the community to come and enjoy from all over, not even just from Hartlepool, from all over, to enjoy and come together and be able to actually show what they can bring to the community as well. We have all the handmade stores that come, we have the local basketball team that come and teach the kids, we have the local creative minds come and sing and entertain, and we have everybody that's there that day on a stall are all volunteers working together to provide happiness and fun for all the community, where we can all come together and it doesn't cost us anything to do it apart from our time. I'm also the secretary of the Rosmere Park, where we care for the wildlife on the park, and we also have events there, 4 events a year for the children. Yet again, the Easter egg hunt, where the kids come, free for all, find all the Easter eggs that's hidden at no cost to them, a donation if they want to. And then all the way through this, I've worked with and seen people that have been homeless. And it's always been a passion of mine to try and help them as best I can, whether it's to let them know, even though they're homeless, they can still claim universal credit, because they can use the job centre as their care of address. So if you ever see anyone and they say, no, I'm not claiming universal credit, I don't have a house, please let them know they can use their nearest job centre. It's a way of the government getting out of paying them. It's shit. To now actually working, I'm going to say 20 hours a week with the charity that I set up with 5 other directors of mine that are all equally as passionate about helping homeless veterans and street homeless people.